to think that this controversy has turned from transphobia to racism. Come on, come on. The controversy surrounding Dave Chappelle's latest special, The Closer, has turned racial. Frankly, I won't tell you that I'm surprised. I actually thought that it was going to get to this level because I don't think there's any controversy right now that is not going to be spinned in racial terms. Well, in this case, it's not Dave Chappelle who is being accused of being racist because he's black and obviously he can't be racist. But it's Netflix itself. So this article explains to us how Netflix handling of this situation is racist. So let's get into the article and see what the article says. So the article says Netflix has fired a leader of the Trans Employee Resource Group who was organizing the upcoming October 20th walkout. The employee, who is black and currently pregnant, asked not to be named for fear of online harassment. Now they have to obviously mention that this person is black and this person is pregnant. Yeah, so basically the person has all the features, all the characteristics of, the most oppressed group, or what would you have it? Black, pregnant, and possibly trans. If it were a white employee, would they have mentioned the race of the employee? So what's the purpose of mentioning that this employee who has been fired because they were staging a walkout is black? If not to somehow make this about race, make it stoke some racial tensions. But let's go ahead. They have been encouraging trans employees and allies to walk out of work in protest of Netflix handling of the Dave Chappelle special, The Closer. The employee declined to speak to The Verge for this story. Quote, all these white people are going around talking to the press and speaking publicly on Twitter, and the only person who gets fired is the black person who was quiet the entire time, says a former employee in an interview with The Verge. Quote, that's absurd and just further shows that black trans people are the ones being targeted in this conversation. Oh my God. Now, I am willing to bet that this so-called former employee is a white person because they are the ones that they are going to start with all this racial nonsense. So you believe that this person is not being targeted because she has staged the walkout. Is not being targeted because she is doing something that not be favorable to the company at this point in time. She's specifically being targeted because she's black and because she's trans and because she's a woman. Because so many other persons have been talking about this issue and they have not been fired, but when it comes to a black trans person, they had to be fired. So this is obviously racism, right? But let us go down to the article and see the real reason why this woman was fired. The employee was terminated on suspicion of leaking metrics to the press related to the Dave Chappelle special. Oh, so there's another reason why she could have been fired, or why she's been fired. She has caused what you call a data breach in the company, and companies take that pretty seriously. So are you trying to tell me that if a white person had done this, that they wouldn't be fired? If a white person had breached the data, that they wouldn't be fired? That they will only be fired when it becomes a black trans woman? Those metrics about how Netflix paid for The Closer and how many people it reached subsequently ended up in a report on Bloomberg. While the employee had shared the metrics internally, they spoke out against the leaks to colleagues who worried they might hurt the walkout movement. The leaking of internal data is highly unusual at Netflix. While the company prides itself on transparency, employees are told that the culture can only thrive when Netflix data remains internal. A Netflix spokesperson confirmed the employee's dismissal. We have let go of an employee for sharing confidential, commercially sensitive information outside the company, they said. We understand this employee may have been motivated by disappointment and hurt with Netflix, but maintaining a culture of trust and transparency is core to our company. Controversy surrounding The Closer, which was widely criticized by trans activists for being transphobic, has roiled Netflix in recent weeks. The company suspended Tara Field, a trans software engineer who posted a viral tweet thread about the controversy for attending a director-level meeting to which she wasn't invited. field has since been reinstated. The company is now sending employee details about what meetings they're allowed to attend. So in this case, someone else actually got a suspension for their Twitter activity about company and about the show and all that, but they were reinstated because guess what, they did not leak company information or company data to the press, which is a breach of data, which is pretty serious for some organization. So if Netflix was really transphobic, they probably would have fired this person as well. But they didn't fire the person, they just suspended the person. And I don't think they suspended the person because they were transphobic, because if they were truly transphobic, they wouldn't have hired a trans person to work with them in the first place. And if they were really transphobic and they were really racist, they wouldn't have hired a black trans woman to work with them in the first place. So all this nonsense about this becoming racial, I really don't understand where the racism comes into this, where someone is quoting that because this woman was fired and many other persons who have been criticizing this from Netflix were not fired, then it has to be because she's black, she's trans, and she's a woman, and then add to it that she's pregnant. But the article also made us to understand that she did some pretty serious stuff by leaking company data, which is very serious. So before charges of racism, I usually say this all the time, before charges of racism should be thrown out there, people should take their time to find out what exactly really is the reason why things happen. The color of the person's skin might not even be the reason, and in most of these cases it's not because the company is racist, it's not because of the color of the person's skin. That's why this is happening. If this company is really racist, I don't think they'd still be hosting Dave Chapelle currently, because all his specials seem to be generating controversy after controversy. So they would have had good reasons to have let go of Dave Chapelle, but they're not letting go of him because he's making them money, and most of the time businesses don't really care about the color of people's skins. They care about their bottom line and their top line, and if you're making them money, they're going to keep you around. So it doesn't really matter what they think internally, but are they going to be racist in their attitude towards someone who is productive towards their venture? Certainly no. So this is all bullshit. To think that this controversy has turned from transphobia to racism, come on. Well, that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Tell me whether that woman, whether you think the real reason she was fired was because obviously she's a black woman, black trans woman, that's why she was fired, or maybe because she committed the very serious crime of leaking confidential company data to the press. Till next time, remain awesome.